Merry meet. So I want to do a review of a tarot deck. And the deck I want to review today is this one, Mage the Ascension Tarot. Now this is a bit of a rare deck. It was published as a prop for the role-playing game Mage the Ascension. And yeah, I'm going to review this both as a tool for role-playing and as a divination tool. Now, before I start, if I don't cover this in the beginning, I'm sure to get a comment that says, "But you said you're against mixing role-playing and real life." So let me just clarify my position on that. I am not against using elements of fiction for real life. So, for example, if you feel that Mickey Mouse has become like a spirit for you because you can see that this character, who has touched so many people's lives, do become very energized and in a way becomes a real personality because of all the people that has invested energy into him. So you make a shrine to Mickey Mouse. I am completely fine with that. What I have a problem with is that if you are a 40-year-old, quite chubby housewife from Houston, and you go online and you play the cute little 200-year-old Kajira Missy living on Gore, and then you say, "I'm a part of the Gorian lifestyle." No, you're not, you're playing a character. But using elements of fiction and making that part of your real life, that's something different. Just to clarify that. Alright, let's get on with the review. So yeah. Now, the first thing the booklet in this deck says is that this is a role-playing game prop, don't use it for divination. I don't agree with that because this is actually a great divination tool. It follows the Rider-Waite layout, and if you are used to the Mage the Ascension symbolism and setting, there's a lot of symbolism in this deck, and it is great to read with. Now, I think this might be please forgive me. I think this might be my favorite media tie-in tarot deck because it uses its property very well. Very often these decks either is more concerned with being a media tie-in product, so that it sort of says, damn the symbology, let's just have a lot of pictures from the setting in question and call it a tarot deck. It's not all of them, of course, but quite a few. Others just don't really give a damn about it being a media tie-in product, so they just have a tarot deck, and it sort of a little bit hints at the setting they are making the tarot deck based on. Here they have very creative use of the mage setting. For example, the suits are based on the essences in Mage, and the pictures are based on the setting, while at the same time following the tarot symbolism very closely. So that is amazing. Now, will this deck be good for you if you are not familiar with Mage the Ascension? I'm a bit split on that. It's a good deck, and if you Google the symbolisms of Mage the Ascension, you will do fine with it. But it is definitely made with that setting in mind, and a lot of symbolism tie into that setting, so you'll miss a lot if you don't know that symbolism. So yeah, let's open up the box and have a look-see. Now, I'm going to start to review this as a gaming tool. The deck comes with this little booklet. Now, there is another edition of this deck, which comes in a nice big box with a thick follow-up book, and I really want that. I think it's the tarot deck I want the most, but it fetches ridiculous collector's prices, like $400. So yeah, so if you're gonna have this simple standard version, you're getting this booklet, but it's very good. Now, what this contains is, for example, information how you can use this in game. Examples for how to use it would be during character creation. You might, for example, not, let's say you're deciding to make a Mage the Ascension character, and you are a bit in a rut about how to have your character's background and character concept. So begin with character concept. So you draw a random card. Strength. Okay, my character is someone who faced a difficult childhood, but when they got attacked by a supernatural beastie, they found that strength in themselves to protect others, and by that they awakened. That's the basic concept. So, someone who has had a very tough time, but has found strength to that adversity. So now I want background. So let's say, yeah, we pull a few cards on that. So, Ten of Swords. The character has suffered some enormous tragedy in their lives. Ace of Primordialism, or basically Age of Cups, which has led to a lot of emotional trauma. You get the point. You can keep doing this, and you can do the same for if you're a GM and you don't really know how to. So your gaming group comes over on Saturday night and you're gonna play a game, you haven't prepared anything and you're sort of out of ideas. Pull a few tarot cards. You just go by what the cards tell you on the pictures, or if you know the tarot symbolism, and then you just use that to craft a story. That's very clever. This is also a very great way to learn the tarot, and you can use any deck to do this in role-playing games. You don't need to use this deck in particular. And it can also be used for all sorts of stories. You just pull a card, start writing a story based on what you see on that card. When you feel that has run out of inspiration from that, you just pull another card and make a story that way. Other things that it's recommended using for is, for example, divination within the setting. So that, for example, the time sphere is always a difficult one, because that really makes it hard to be a GM, because then the characters know about the past and the future. You might not want to give them a details on, okay, your chanter will be attacked by the technocracy, who is bringing along newly created genetic super soldiers, blah blah blah. Instead, you might just they use time to see into the future. You give them a tarot card. So let's say that what's in the future is that the technocracy is having a money laundering scheme that will eventually rob the chantry of its resources. So you give them this card. The Eight of Pentacles, and you let the players figure it out. Basically just throwing out ideas here. Other ways that it can be used for is using this to determine coincidental magic. It can be used to give hints. It can be used for seekings. Basically, the little booklet is just full of ideas of how to use the cards and the symbolism in game. And of course, that symbolism can also be used for other role-playing games. How to use the tarot cards to add depth to your game. And well, this is a bit of a speculation. I sort of think that I know that a lot of a lot of the people that worked on the Everlasting, those role-playing game books up there, worked for White Wolf before. The Everlasting is based on using tarot cards as a gameplay mechanic, and I'm sort of guessing they worked on this deck because, yeah, it has that feel. But yeah, that part of the deck is very useful because it gives just a ton of ideas of how to use the tarot as a gameplay build prop and as a very great tool. So what you have here is basically you have a bit of what, which is more about how to read the tarot cards. You have reading spreads, you have a few spreads, you have a short introduction to the tarot. And some of these spreads basically have the Celtic cross, which is everything, the circular spread for days in the week, which I haven't seen anywhere else, but it probably is a pretty classic one. The linear spread, which is a simple four spread layout, so the 4-card layout. And there's not a lot of spreads, I think it's 3 spreads in here, but it's enough to get you started. You have ideas for using the cards, you have character creation, non-player character creation, plots and subplots, which I told you about, unexpected developments, how to do it for spirits and effect, unpredictable elements, coincidental magic, how to use it for rites of passage and seekings. Yeah, and then we of course get into the cards, which has the typical tarot thing which explains the cards. So yeah, that's what's in the booklet. And now I have rambled on quite a bit for how to use this as a role-playing game tool, which it is great for. But you can of course use any tarot deck for this, but since this is specially designed for the Mage the Ascension setting, it is probably the best deck for that setting. But if you can't find this, since this is kind of a rare deck now, and even this one fetches collector's prices, you might want to use another deck. And you can still do that. Now, onto the deck for divination purposes. Now, this is basic. This is a basic Rider-Waite clone type deck. So here are some of the cards. We have, for example, the Sun. We have 2 of Swords, the Star, Queen of Questing, Queen of Questing then is Wands. So basically, they use for the minor arcana, they use the essences. Now, just a quick note about that, for those that doesn't play mage. The essences is basically the nature of your soul. You have questing, which is the souls that, or your avatar, which is the source of your magic. Basically, the how should I explain an avatar? Your holy guardian angel in ritual magic, that would be your avatar. Basically, a questing avatar is always seeking some new goal, but it is having a goal that's the important. They are on the road. They are questing. They're goal seekers. Then you have dynamism, which is the dynamic one. It is for change, for development. It's active, and that they have put as swords. Questing is wands. Then you have primordial some, which is basically the ancient, the deep down, the basics of things. Like what's primordial would be ancient gods, basically, and it's entropy. It's basically the effect of entropy. Like you will have it stasis, dynamism, and entropy, with entropy then being both destruction and clearing the way for rebirth. And it is pentacles, which I think, yeah, it's pentacles. Let me just check for a second so I'm not saying it's wrong here. I'm having so many tarot decks that sometimes with these with alternative suits I mix them up. Yes, let's see here. We have questing, which are wands. And then we have primordialism, which are cups. And then we have swords, which are dynamic. And then we have, so I was actually wrong, it's cups that are primordialism. And then we have pentacles, which are pattern, which of course makes a lot more sense since that's the static element, the down to earth ground element. And of course all of these suits then tie into one of the factions in Mage. So you have the primordialism that ties into the Napandi, dynamic, also so the cups ties into the Napandi, the dynamism, the swords tie into let's see the questing, also the questing type, which also the wands ties into the traditions, which teach the typical good guys of Mage the Ascension, because they want a balance. Then we have primordialism as in cup, which ties into the Napandi. And then we have swords as dynamic, which ties into the marauders. I don't completely agree with this one because Napandi is very chaotic, and I don't really see the swords as chaotic. I see them more as they are more. Swords have always been more static to me. And then we have pentacles as in pattern, which then ties into the technocracy. So yeah, it ties very much into the concept of dynamism, stasis, entropy, which is a big theme in Mage. But it fits reasonably well. There is a bit of a iffiness there because I think, for example, that the marauders are very chaotic, they're mad mages, and that doesn't really fit with swords to me, but it fits well enough that you can read with it. So, move on to the pictures. I'm sorry that if that explanation of the suits were a bit hit and miss. Like I said, I have a lot of tarot decks, and sometimes I mix up the various custom suits of some of the specialty decks. Well, like you see here, the pictures, they are very Rider White-ish, but with a mage feel to it. Like this Ace of Pattern, which is very magey. So yeah, it follows the Rider White symbolism very well. Like for example this one, which is the Seven of Cups, which is exactly like the Seven of Cups in the Rider White deck, only with a pandic feel to it. Pandi then being the evil mages that want to destroy the world. So yeah, I think the artwork is very good. Now, granted, I've never been a huge fan of the Rider White. As in the design, I find it somewhat boring. But it is a very classical deck, and it is very good to read with, and the symbolism is very on the forefront. And you have the same thing with this deck. And of course, it's not completely Rider White, it is very much stylized after the setting. So I think, while I won't call this a gorgeous deck, it's definitely not the prettiest tarot deck you'll find. For its purpose and what it is, the artwork is very well done. Now for the back of the cards, you have all the spare symbols except Prime, so the 8 other spare symbols, on a background of purple. It plays into the gold and purple color scheme of the gold and purple color scheme of Mage. Here we have on the Empress, which is obviously a Verbena. So yeah, does this work to tell fortunes with? Yeah, I've used this deck many times, and I think it's a pretty good deck. Now, with any specialty deck, it will be a bit twisted compared to a deck which is designed purely for the purpose of reading fortunes, or basically divination. Because this is also a role-playing game prop. That's what it's basically designed for, but the devil card is amazing. Just popped up. That's amazing. It's of course the black spiral. So yeah. Yeah, I think it works fine for divination. It's a good deck. It is an amazing role-playing game tool, but it's also a decent deck for divination. Now, of course, for me, who have based a lot of my real-life practice on Mage the Ascension, I've taken a lot of inspiration from that game in my real-life practice. Now, before you go ballistic on me, yes, I'm a chaot. I do stuff like that. I do summon Darth Vader to help protect my house. And no, I don't think he'll show up physically, breathing mask and all, but the energy of him, the concept. So yeah, chaots do things like that. Here we have a Marauder, in all her glory. So yeah, since I have based a lot of my real life practice on this setting, this deck gets a special meaning for me, but even without that, I think it's a decent divination deck. But like I said, this does fetch collector's prices. I don't think it's worth that, unless you are a huge fan of Mage the Ascension. You'll have to expect to pay at least $100–150 for a decent condition Mage the Ascension Tarot deck. So yeah, if all you want to do is have another divination deck, I wouldn't go for this one. If you are a tarot collector and want a bit of an oddball deck, it might be worth it for you. If you are a Mage the Ascension fan, I would say hunt this one down. You won't regret it. Both for your game and as a divination tool. It's amazing. So yeah, as a divination tool, I'll give this a 7 out of 10. It's good, but not great. As a role-playing game prop, I'll give this a 9 out of 10. It's an amazing prop, it does make gaming more fun, it's very useful, and I definitely recommend it. Especially for the manual which tells you how to use it for role-playing. So if you're getting a second-hand deck, make sure you get one that has this one. So yeah, I see I have rambled on for quite some time, so I think I'll end this review now. See how I get when I start discussing anything that has to do with Mage the Ascension. Yeah. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Have a great day, and blessed be.